Marietta Post 64 taking on the Post 94 Mad Dogs at Pioneer Park. In the top of the first is where we'll start. Luke Gordon, sharp grounder past first base, and Braxton Burke comes around to score. Very next batter, Ryan Anderson, going to give this a ride and make it a 3-0 ball game with the tomahawk chop home run out to left field. See ya, baseball. To the top of the third, 2 runners on, and Gavin Fling lays down the perfect bunt right down the third base line to load the bases. And then a wild pitch will be the result of Marietta's first run, making it a 4-1 ball game on that unearned run. Let's go to Jacob Seeley. He's up at the plate. Hard ground ball, and that'll be mishandled at shortstop to push across. One more run for Post 64. On to the fourth. Bases loaded again, this time for Post 94. Gordon goes the other way into left center, and that'll be a bases clearing triple, and it is Post 94 that goes on to pick up the win 9-5.